The day should have been pure joy. Balloons sagged from the ceiling. Dollar store streamers wilting in the summer heat. Ethan had been buzzing since morning, clapping his little hands at the sight of the cake I'd managed to buy with weeks of late-night cleaning tips for his 7th birthday. All I wanted was for him to feel celebrated, to know he mattered. But the air soured the moment the door opened. My father's boots struck the floor like hammers, claiming the room. Mom followed with her usual smirk. And behind her was Kayla, freshly dyed hair, glittering nails, a new dress I knew she hadn't paid for. Dad's eyes swept the balloons, the cake, the small pile of gifts. His mouth curled. This is what a leech spends money on. A fake party for a brat who doesn't matter. I froze. Ethan's smile wavered as he pressed closer to me. Dad, please. He cut me off, stepping closer, towering. You think this makes you a mother? You can't pay rent without crawling to us. Now you throw parties like you're somebody. Mom chuckled darkly. Don't yell, dear. You'll scare the boy. Then again, maybe he should be scared. Maybe he should learn what happens when garbage thinks it deserves more than scraps. Ethan tugged my arm, whispering, Mommy, can we still eat cake? His voice cracked. My chest split open hearing it. Dad heard it too. His face twisted. Cake, he sneered. Parasites don't get cake. Parasites get beat. Before I could move, his fist slammed into my chest. I stumbled back against the table. The candles flickered. Ethan screamed. I tried to shield him, but Dad yanked my shirt and hurled me to the floor. His boot crashed into my ribs, once, twice, each strike punctuated by his word, leech, leech, leech. Laughter filled the room. Mom's sharp, high cackle, Kayla's grin behind her hand. Even the relatives chuckled, looking away, pretending it was all just a joke. Ethan stood trembling, fists balled, tears streaming. Stop hurting my mom, he cried, but no one stopped. And then came the final cruelty. Mom stepped past me crumpled on the floor, past Ethan's sobs, past the broken cups and shattered plates. She lifted the cake carefully, turned with a sweet smile, and handed it to Kayla. Happy birthday, sweetheart. You deserve it more than anyone. Kayla leaned forward, blew out the candles, and clapped like a child. Make a wish, Mom teased. My son's face crumpled as he whispered, but it's my birthday. The room erupted in laughter. My father clapped Kayla's shoulder like she'd achieved something worthy. My mother sliced the first piece of cake, not for Ethan, but for her golden child. Ethan's eyes found me where I lay half broken on the floor. In them I saw confusion, betrayal, and something darker. The kind of wound that never heals. That night, when the house finally emptied, when the last cruel smile faded, I sat with Ethan in the dark. His small hand trembled in mine. Mommy, he whispered, why don't they love us? I couldn't answer. I just pulled him closer, vowing silently, if they wanted to laugh, if they wanted to call us leeches and parasites, then I'd make sure the laughter ended, for good. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel fear. I felt fire. The next morning the house smelled of wax and stale frosting. The balloon sagged. One burst. Ribbons dangling like the remains of a crime scene. Ethan sat curled on the couch, knees to his chest, eyes swollen from crying. His gifts lay untouched. His smile was gone. I brewed cocoa, pressed the cup into his hands, and kissed his hair. We'll make it better. I promise, I whispered. But even as I said it, the words tasted like ash. There was no better in this family. Not unless I made it. The door creaked open. Mom's heels clicked across the floor. She looked at me as though I was still sprawled in last night's humiliation. Don't be so dramatic, she said, grabbing her purse. It was just a lesson. You should thank your father for teaching you reality. No one respects beggars who waste money on parties. My ribs throbbed where Dad's boots had landed. My lips stung, split open. My arms ached from shielding Ethan, but none of it hurt as much as his silence. "Where's Dad?" I asked, forcing my voice steady. "Working," she smirked. "At a real job. Not like you, scrubbing toilets for pennies. You should have saved your scraps instead of wasting them on candles and balloons." She spit the words like poison. Ethan flinched. "And Kayla?" I asked, though I already knew. Mom's smile sharpened. "Shopping with her friends. She loved the cake. By the way, said it was the best she's had in years. Finally, something you did right." The burn rose in my throat, but I swallowed it down. I would not give her my tears. When she left, I sat beside Ethan. He turned to me, his voice small, broken. "Mom, am I bad?" And my heart shattered. "No, baby, you're the best thing in my life. Don't you ever believe their lies." But he hesitated. "Grandma said I don't deserve cake. Grandpa said we're leeches. If they're right, will you still love me?" My heart broke. They weren't just crushing me anymore, they were poisoning him. If I didn't fight back, they would carve him down until he believed he was worthless. I cupped his face in both hands. "Listen to me, Ethan. You are worth everything. And one day, they'll learn what it feels like to lose everything they laugh about. Do you understand?" He nodded, though doubt still shimmered in his eyes. From that day forward, I stopped begging for scraps of approval. I went quiet. Let them think they'd won. Let them laugh louder. Call me names sharper. Shove me deeper into the shadows. Because silence gave me time. Dad would grunt. Still useless. I said nothing. Mom flashed Kayla's shopping bags. "This is success." I didn't blink. Kayla smirked. "Better luck next life, sis." I only smiled faintly, like a broken doll. But inside, I was building. I started saving, not just money, every hidden dollar from late shifts, but information. The way Mom locked her jewelry box. The envelopes Dad stuffed into his work bag. Kayla's phone left carelessly on the counter, bursting with bragging texts about what she'd stolen, cheated, or lied to get. They thought I was a ghost. I became their shadow. At night, when Ethan slept, I traced the faint bruises on my ribs and planned. Every insult, every laugh, every glance that told him he was nothing, I carved it all into memory like a weapon. Revenge couldn't be rushed. I wanted timing so perfect they'd choke on their own pride. Bite by bite, until nothing was left. One evening, Dad sat at the table drinking, his voice booming through the house. "You're nothing. You hear me? Nothing without us. We feed you. We clothe you. You don't exist without us." I smiled faintly at the sink, because buried in his drunken rant was the truth. They needed me. My silence. My obedience. My role as their punching bag. Without me, they'd turn on each other. So I decided I'd give them exactly what they deserved. The plan grew slowly, one careful thread at a time. I didn't shout. I didn't fight. I didn't cry. I listened. I learned. I waited. One night, Ethan whispered, "Mommy, when will they stop laughing at us?" I kissed his forehead. "When I decide it's time." And in that vow, my fear finally burned away. All that was left was fire. The day I chose to strike wasn't circled on a calendar, but in my mind, it burned red. Dad was shouting in the living room, tossing his boots like a king discarding scraps. Mom sat at the table, counting bills under her breath. Kayla strutted in wearing a new dress, the tag still dangling. And in the corner, Ethan drew on a scrap of paper, a family picture where only he and I were smiling. That was the moment. I stood, wiped my hands on my jeans, and said evenly, "Want to hear something funny?" Their heads turned. I rarely spoke. Dad sneered. "Well, look at that." The leech found her voice. Mom chuckled. "Careful. She might beg for another pity cake." Kayla rolled her eyes. "This should be good." I walked to the table and dropped a thick envelope with a slap. "You always called me useless. But while you mocked me, I was watching. While you starved me, I was saving. And while you laughed, I was learning every one of your secrets." Mom's fingers froze mid-count. Dad's smirk faltered. "What the hell is this?" he barked. I pushed the envelope closer. "Proof. Dad, those envelopes you hide aren't wages. They're gambling debts. Mom, your jewelry box. Not heirlooms. Pawn tickets for what you stole and swapped with fakes. And Kayla." My eyes locked on hers. "Your shopping sprees are funded by credit cards in other people's names." Kayla's jaw dropped. "You're lying." I opened the envelope and spilled everything across the table: copies of letters, screenshots, photos. Dad's IOU scrawled with his angry hand. Mom's receipts with red circles. Kayla's bragging texts about her scams. Silence. Ethan lifted his head, wide-eyed. Mom's face went pale, then blotchy with rage. "You little snake." I slammed my palm against the table. "No, you don't call me names anymore. For years you made me your punching bag. You made my son cry himself to sleep thinking he was nothing. But today is the last time you laugh at us." Dad lurched forward, fist clenched. "You think you can threaten me?" I didn't move. "I don't need to. I already sent copies to your debt collectors, to your victims, even to a reporter. By tomorrow, everything you built on lies will crumble." The color drained from his face. For the first time, Dad looked small. Mom's hands shook as she tried to gather the papers. Kayla collapsed into a chair, muttering, "No, no, no." I leaned closer, voice like glass. "Remember what you said, Dad? Leeches don't throw parties. Well, you were the leeches all along. And now the blood's run out." For the first time, Ethan smiled. Fragile, but real. I took his hand. "Come on, baby. We're leaving." Mom shrieked behind us. "Where will you go? You'll starve without us." I turned once. "No, Mom. I starved because of you. Without you, we'll finally breathe." The door shut behind me with a final snap. Outside, the air was sharp, alive. Ethan squeezed my hand tighter. "Mom, are we really free?" I knelt, brushing his hair back. "Yes, and soon they'll know what it feels like to be powerless." As we walked away, the house erupted, paper scattering, chairs scraping, voices cracking into chaos. For the first time, it wasn't laughter. It was fear.